Hi, I'm Gary Walters, and I'm a backyard beekeeper on James Island, South Carolina. I got into beekeeping really because I had a garden, a vegetable garden, and I noticed that there were very few pollinators other than the occasional bumblebee or a wasp or something like that. In fact, I was out there with Q-tips, pollinating my cucumbers and zucchinis or whatever. So I met a fellow that would set up beehives on your property, and he would take about 80% of the honey, give you about 20%. So I thought, that's a great idea. I've been eating honey since I was about 19 every day. So I did that for the first year. And then the second year, I didn't get any honey because a couple of the hives had failed or whatever. So I decided to take it on myself. I grew up on a farm. My grandfather kept bees, my uncles, my dad even had a beehive at one point. So I did a good bit of research and studying and found out that it's pretty easy, actually. There is a lot of time involved, at least initially when you're getting set up and when you're learning. You cannot ignore the bees. They have so many diseases and pests and things like that that attack them these days. These things didn't exist 20 years ago. If you want to be a successful beekeeper, you have to be diligent and keep an eye out and take preventative measures to protect the bees. But I love it. I mean, for me, it's fascinating learning how the bees communicate, how they produce their food. Fortunately for us, they always produce more food than they need, so we can take honey without harming the bees as long as we leave enough for them to survive the winter. I get my neighbors coming by and sending me messages, things like thanks for the pollinators. I also rescue bees. We hear about a hive or a swarm that's in someone's house or structure, and we'll go and remove them and bring them back here and put them in a hive box and take care of them and treat them for disease or whatever and get them healthy and give them a nice place to live. And in turn, I get a lot of honey. So I love to teach people and mentor people what I know. I'm still learning. I'm a member of the Charleston Area Beekeepers Association. We communicate with one another. The older, more experienced beekeepers mentor the other beekeepers. I have friends in North Carolina that I call, and they call me whenever we're trying to sort out a problem. But really, it's pretty easy. It's really rewarding. You can do it almost any size lot, and the bees are pretty safe. This is several different types of hives. The boxes on the bottom story, if you will, are called the brood box. Now that's where the queen usually lives, where she lays her eggs, where the baby bees are born. Sometime in the spring and summer I have 2 brood boxes, which is the case of the 3 taller hives here. The second chambers up on the top are also brood boxes. They are much larger hives. This first one here on the end, the cream and blue one, is called a resource hive. It's actually 2 beehives combined into one. And you'll see down here at the bottom, there's an entrance in the front and also an entrance on the side. Those are entrances into 2 different colonies. And interestingly enough, the real active one on the side there is a colony that I rescued out of a crawl space. We went in and removed it out of a lady's crawl space, and that colony's been doing really well. These boxes on the top, on the 3 with the pitched roofs, the yellow roof, the green roof, and the blue roof, those are a type of honey super that was invented in Australia by a father and son team. It's called a flow hive, and it allows me to tap the honey directly out of the hive. So I don't have to pull the honey frames out and take them somewhere and cut the cappings off and spin the honey out and make a big mess. I do that sometimes with some of the other frames, the traditional frames, but it's so much more convenient. And also, It's less invasive for the bees. The smaller hive there is a hive that has lost its queen, either through a queen taking off or being killed or getting old or whatever. And so what I'm trying to do is get the bees to make a new queen, which they do naturally. I put up a sunshade here to help the bees keep a little cooler in the summer, as well as to help the beekeeper stay a little cooler when he's working the hives. So we have over here, these smaller boxes are called nukes. That's short for Nucleus Box. And every year, a natural process for honeybees is an event called swarming. And that's where the queen bee will take a large percentage of the worker bees. They'll gorge themselves with honey, the workers will, and they'll take off. And you can lose a half or 3/4 of your bees. They'll go to find a new home. That's a natural occurrence in the spring. It can also occur if the hive is unhealthy, if there's too many pests like small hive beetles or mites or something within the hive. They'll take off and find a new home. They do usually leave behind either queen cells, which will hatch into a new queen, or new eggs within 3 days old, and the worker bees will build a queen cup and put the new egg in it and start feeding it royal jelly, which is a substance the queen bee is fed her whole life, and they'll create a new queen. The queen is very dependent on her attendant bees. The queen bee cannot even feed herself, so she will not survive outside the hive except for her mating flight, which usually lasts 1 to 5 days. So these boxes, I have taken frames of new eggs and nurse bees and worker bees and a frame or so of honey or food and put them in these smaller boxes to create a new hive. And it serves a double purpose. It keeps my big hives from swarming, and I create a new hive. And sometimes I'll need to take a queen or frame a brood or something to boost up one of my weaker hives. As they grow, as these new colonies grow, I'll put them in the larger boxes, which have 10 frames in it. And so they lay eggs, make more brood, make more bees. Also, when I do a bee rescue, we've rescued several hives out of structures, houses, or whatever. I'll usually put them in these nuke boxes so that they can get established, build new comb, lay eggs, and so on. And two of these are rescues, and the other 3 are splits that I did of my existing hives. So why don't we go put our protective gear on, our PPP, and open some beehives and see what they look inside. So we're over here with the nuke boxes and the new hives. We're gonna open this one hive, maybe get a glimpse of the queen if she's not hiding too much, and I'll show you some traditional frames of brood and honey. I give them a little smoke to calm them down. You can hear them roar at first. This cover off. This is called the inner cover. Now the bees use a glue, a sticky stuff called propolis that they make out of tree sap, and they close up all the cracks in their hive with this stuff. It's highly prized. Violin makers used to use it for the finish on very expensive instruments. Now I always check the inner cover when I don't have a queen excluder before I set it down, just make sure the queen's not on it. All this stuff around the corner here is propolis. Okay, this thing here is called a beetle blaster. It's a little thing that holds vegetable oil, and the bees will chase the small hive beetles in there and they'll die. There's one in there. See a little black thing? There's one right here and one on the other end. Evil little things. They can really ruin a beehive. All right. This was a split that I did a couple months ago, and the bees have done really well. This queen has been very active, and they've just about filled up this 10 frame hive box here. So very gently I'm pulling out this frame This is all new honeycomb that the bees have made. They can make this frame of honeycomb in about 2 days, a good healthy big hive during the season. This is new wax. Let's see on the other side, this fat bee here is a drone bee. It's a male right there. Drone bees do not have stingers. Their whole purpose in life is to mate with a new queen, which they do once and then they die. Okay. So the queen is not on this frame. We're going to set it over here on the side. A little extra piece of comb there we don't need. We'll go through the hive and take a look. Okay, girls. Time to let me have a look. All right, look at that. This is a frame of nectar and pollen, and you see these cells right here in the middle that are capped. Those are brood cells, baby bees, that the queen bees laid an egg in. It's hatched, it's a larva. The bees have capped it over. All right, see on the other side, you see a larger brood pattern right there in the center where the cells are capped. Quite often they'll put a kind of a ring of honey right across the top here, which they've done, and that's there to, and these cells that are closed with something in them are pollen cells. So I do not see the queen on this frame. A lot of brood though, so we'll put it back in here. Look at the next one. All right, look at this. This is all new brood. You can tell by the lighter color. The ones that are dome shaped right here, those are drone broods, male bees. All right, don't see the queen there. I mark my queens with a blue dot on the hard part of their back, their thorax, so I can find them easier. This queen is a little elusive. I've had trouble finding her before. She's a good queen though, lays a lot of eggs. Got a real nice hive going here. Now, the frames are stuck together with propolis, so I was telling you about a little bit ago. Bee glue. Look at that frame of brood, it's almost full. That's probably 3,000 bees, new bees right there on this frame. About 1,500 on each side. They are about to hatch out, and this hive's going to explode in about another week. Now these are the flow frames that I use. These are artificial honeycombs. They're made out of food grade plastic. Now you can see in the end here, there's honey stored in here. I actually pulled this frame out and looked at it earlier, so it's ready to harvest. So what we're going to do, I'm going to pull this cap out right here. Hopefully it'll come out without pliers. Maybe not. There it goes. And Kyle, if you'll look in that tray there, there's a, in that bin, there's a, thank you. And hand me at least one mason jar. We're going to tap the honey straight out of this frame and not pull it out and not disturb the bees in any way. I'll first put this tube in. I've cleaned all these jars previously, run them through a dishwasher. And next I need those two metal rods there. The way the flow hive works is these are artificial honeycombs. So honeycombs and hexagonal. Now with the flow hive, when I turn these levers, it's going to split the cells just like that. And all the honey will just flow down to the bottom through this tube and in the jar. This is least invasive way to harvest honey. All right, so I'm going to go in just partially. Turning both handles down. All right, and here comes the honey. Now with traditional honeycombs, you have to pull the comb, the frame, take it inside, cut the wax cappings off of the cells, and either spin it in a centrifuge or scrape the honeycomb out and then strain the honey. With this, it flows right out. So this is our harvest today, part of it, fresh from the beehive, all the hard work of the bees. So that's it for backyard beekeeping. One thing that you might want to remember, Albert Einstein said that the honeybee is so important that if they ever go extinct, humans will follow in about 4 years. So protect the bees, take care of these little creatures because they're crucial to our existence.